Let's be honest. Your 30s feel like financial quicksand, don't they? One minute you're making decent money, feeling pretty good about your progress. The next minute you're staring at your bank account, wondering where everything went. Daycare costs that rival a mortgage. Your friend's third wedding this year. Another car repair. If you're convinced you're the only one struggling while everyone else has it figured out, I'm about to show you why that feeling is completely normal and what you can actually do about it. Here's what nobody tells you about your 30s. This decade isn't where you magically figure everything out financially. Financial experts call it the messy middle for a damn good reason. Life is coming at you from every possible direction simultaneously. Career pressures because you're supposed to be climbing some invisible ladder. Family pressures because suddenly everyone's having kids or taking care of aging parents. Social pressures because your friends are buying houses and taking Instagram-worthy vacations while you're eating cereal for dinner again. But here's the thing that changes everything. This chaos is completely normal. The messy middle earned its name because everyone goes through it, even people who end up wealthy later. The difference isn't that some people avoid the mess entirely. The difference is that some people understand how to build wealth despite the mess, while others let the chaos convince them to give up. Think about what's actually happening. You're earning more money than ever before, which sounds great until you realize you're also spending more than ever before. If you have kids, you've discovered that small humans are basically tiny money-shredding machines. If you don't have kids, you're probably saving for a wedding, a house down payment, or both, which feels like filling a bathtub with a teaspoon. Meanwhile, everyone around you seems to have their act together. Your college roommate just bought a house with a 3-car garage. Your coworker is maxing out their retirement account while taking European vacations. Your social media feed is full of people your age with unlimited money for home renovations and expensive hobbies. Here's the truth that will set you free. Most of those people don't actually have their finances figured out either. They're just better at making it look that way. The median net worth for someone at age 30 is around $39,000. That includes everything they own minus everything they owe. Most of that is tied up in their car and maybe some home equity. The actual cash and investments? We're looking at maybe $17,000 for the typical 30-year-old. It gets even more interesting. The average American doesn't start seriously investing until age 33. The median first-time homebuyer is 40 years old. If you started contributing to a retirement account in your 20s, even just $50 a month, you're already ahead of most people. If you have any emergency savings at all, you're in better shape than a huge portion of your peers. This isn't about feeling superior. It's about understanding that this feeling of being behind is largely an illusion created by comparing your financial reality to other people's highlight reels. Despite all the chaos, time is still working massively in your favor. Let me show you the actual numbers, because most people don't truly understand this until they see it. Let's say you're 30 years old and you've managed to save $100,000 total. That might feel like you're moving at a snail's pace, especially when you read about people with millions saved by 30. But here's where compound interest becomes your best friend. If you did absolutely nothing else, never saved another dollar, and just let that $100,000 grow at 8% annually, you'd have over $200,000 by age 40. Your money literally doubling without you lifting a finger. If you can manage to save just $450 per month on top of what you already have, you'll reach 3 times your annual income saved by age 40. What feels like a stretch today becomes much more manageable as your career progresses and your income increases. Here's the multiplier effect. If you're in your early 30s, every dollar you invest has the potential to multiply by 20 times by retirement. Even in your late 30s, that multiplier is still around 8 times. Yes, starting your 20s would have been better, but starting in your 30s is infinitely better than starting in your 40s or 50s. The biggest mistake people make in their 30s? Getting fancy with their investments. They'll have $50,000 saved and decide they need to start picking individual stocks or getting into cryptocurrency. Meanwhile, their money could be quietly growing in boring index funds. Keep your investing strategy simple. Low-cost index funds, target date funds, and automated investing are your best friends. You don't need to impress anyone with your investment knowledge. You need your money to grow consistently while you deal with all the other demands on your time. Here's the wealth killer nobody talks about: lifestyle inflation. When you get a raise, most people increase their spending to match. New apartment, new car, nicer restaurants. Suddenly, they're making $10,000 more per year and spending $10,000 more per year. Now they're back to living paycheck to paycheck, just at a higher income level. The people who actually build wealth do something different. When they get a raise, they keep living like they did before and throw that extra money directly into investments. If you get promoted and your salary bumps from $50,000 to $65,000, that's $15,000 more per year. Keep your lifestyle the same and invest the difference. That's the difference between someone who builds wealth and someone who just makes more money but stays broke. Building wealth in your 30s isn't about perfection. It's about persistence through the beautiful disaster that this decade tends to be. You're going to have months where you save $800 and feel like you're finally getting your act together. Then your car needs a new transmission, your kid needs braces, and your best friend asks you to be in their wedding party. This is where emergency funds become critical, not just for your financial health, but for your sanity. 3 to 6 months of expenses sitting in a boring savings account buys you margin in life. When everyone else is putting emergencies on credit cards at 20% interest, you get to pay cash and move on. But don't let building wealth become so consuming that you forget money is supposed to be a tool, not an obsession. Your 30s are some of the most memorable years of your life. Yes, save and invest consistently. Yes, build your net worth. But don't be so focused on hitting arbitrary financial milestones that you miss experiences that matter to you. Your financial journey won't look like anyone else's, and that's perfectly fine. The people who successfully build wealth during their 30s understand it's a marathon, not a sprint. They focus on consistency over perfection, automation over optimization, and progress over comparison. The beautiful irony is that most people who eventually become wealthy felt exactly like you do right now during this decade. They were convinced they were financial disasters while making decisions that would transform their lives 20 years later. The difference between people who build wealth and people who don't isn't that wealthy people never felt overwhelmed. It's that they kept making good decisions even when those decisions felt insignificant at the time. Your future self is counting on the imperfect decisions you make today. Small steps today, big wealth tomorrow. Subscribe and see you in the next video.